and welcome to Project Pitch, Confidence in Communication. In this engaging and interactive crash course, you'll discover the tools and techniques to become a confident, impactful speaker. Whether you're presenting a business idea, answering questions in an interview, or simply sharing your thoughts in a group setting, this video is designed to help you communicate effectively and leave a lasting impression. My name is Adnan Coban. I am a third-year entrepreneurship student, and I designed this lesson to help empower the next generation of students in a way that didn't exist when I first started, right where you are now. Over the next 30 minutes or so, you'll learn how to manage nerves, structure your message for maximum clarity, and use body language to project confidence. By the end of this session, you'll walk away with practical tips and strategies to take your communication skills to the next level. So let's turn your next presentation into an opportunity to impress. Did you know that great communication skills is one of the top things employers look for? Every student in this room will, at some point, need to communicate to get to where they want to be. Whether it's securing your first co-op position, pitching a business idea, leading a group project, or simply voicing your ideas in a meeting, you'll be judged not just by what you know, but how well you can share it. The reality is this: opportunities often go to the best communicator, not the smartest person in the room. You may have the best idea for a business. You might be the hardest working member of your team. You may know the perfect solution to a problem. But if you can't communicate it clearly, confidently, and persuasively, someone else is going to walk away with that opportunity. Think about it. How many times have you heard someone say after a class presentation, "I knew what I wanted to say, but when I got up there, it all just fell apart"? Or maybe you've seen someone less prepared, but they spoke with such confidence that everybody bought in. That's the power of communication. It's not just a skill. It's your gateway to getting what you deserve. So, just to expand on that point, here are some real-life examples of communicators who won not because they were the smartest, but because they were clear and compelling. Now, firstly, as a business example, Steve Jobs, the power of simplicity and clarity. Let me take you back to 2007. I was 6. Steve Jobs walked onto a stage and announced the iPhone. He didn't get up there and rattle off technical specifications or overwhelm people with jargon. Instead, he painted a vision. He held up an iPhone and said, "Today, Apple is going to reinvent the phone." One simple and clear message. He went on to demonstrate how the iPhone combined a phone, an iPod, and an internet browser all in one. He made it easy to understand, he made it exciting, and he made everyone believe this is the future. That presentation is now seen as one of the greatest product launches in history. Why? Because Jobs knew that the best presentation isn't about showing people how smart you are. It's about making people understand and feel what you want them to. Now, the second example, Brian Mulroney, building bridges through communication. Let's bring this a little closer to home. Now, some of you may have heard of Prime Minister Brian Mulroney, a former Canadian Prime Minister and a St. FX graduate. Now, we're not here to discuss politics. What matters is this: Mulroney was never the smartest guy in the room. He wasn't a policy genius, but he had one gift that set him apart. He knew how to connect with people. Whether he was sitting across from world leaders or business executives or everyday Canadians, Mulroney had the unique ability to bring people together. He built coalitions and he got things done. Not because he overpowered others with knowledge, but because he knew to listen, to speak clearly, and to inspire people to work towards a shared goal. That's the kind of communicator who succeeds. Not the one who knows the most, but the one who can bring people together around their ideas. So, what does this mean for you? It means that if you can learn to communicate with confidence, you can open doors you didn't even know existed. And that's what today is all about. Over the next 20 minutes or so, we're going to break this skill down into 5 key areas that will set you apart. Firstly, overcoming presentation anxiety. We'll talk about those nerves, the sweaty palms, the racing heart, and how to turn that fear into fuel. Secondly, we're going to talk about structuring presentations. You'll learn how to organize your thoughts so that your message is clear, memorable, and impactful. Third, the power of nonverbal communication, because what you say is important, but how you say it, your body language, tone, and energy often matters even more. Fourth, we'll talk about engaging your audience. Presentations aren't monologues, they're conversations. You'll learn how to read the room, involve your listeners, and keep their attention. Fifth, and the final tip for success, we'll finish by pulling everything together, giving you some practical tips that'll help you walk into your next presentation prepared, confident, and ready to impress. This is your crash course in communicating like a pro. Not someday, but starting right now. Let's get started. Let's be honest, we've all been there. You're standing in front of the room, your heart's racing, your palms are sweaty, your mind is moving a mile a minute, and all you can think is, don't mess this up. That feeling, presentation anxiety, it's completely normal. But what most people don't know is this. That anxiety is not your enemy, it's your advantage. Now let me explain. When you step up to speak, your body reacts as if you're in danger. Your brain senses a threat, but not a bear chasing you, but the possibility of being judged, embarrassed, or failing in front of others. And this triggers your fight or flight response, an ancient survival system built to protect you. Your body does these things automatically. Your heart races to pump more blood and give you more energy. Your palms sweat to cool you down and prepare you for action. And your hands shake because adrenaline is preparing your muscles to respond quickly. Your mind speeds up to sharpen your focus and spot threats. But now here's the thing. That's not a problem. This is performance fuel. Your body is literally giving you everything you need to succeed. And we know this isn't just motivational talk. The science backs this up. Harvard Business School researcher Alison Woods Brooks conducted studies showing that reframing anxiety as excitement significantly improves performance in public speaking and other high-pressure tasks. That's from Brooks 2014. If you think the pros don't get nervous, Warren Buffett, one of the most successful business leaders ever, has said that public speaking terrified him when he was younger. He's called learning communication skills the best investment he's ever made, and that was on CNBC last year. So if you're feeling nervous, remember this. You're not broken, you are built for this. That rush you feel, it's your body preparing you to deliver something great. So, here's a powerful mindset shift that can change everything. Your body doesn't know the difference between anxiety and excitement. The physical response is the same. It's adrenaline. The only difference is how your brain labels it. So when you feel your heart racing, instead of thinking, I'm nervous, I'm gonna fail, tell yourself, I'm excited. I'm ready to share something valuable. And this isn't just positive thinking, it's proven to work. That same Harvard study by Alison Woods Brooks found that people who said, I'm excited before a presentation were rated as more confident, competent, and persuasive than those who tried to calm themselves down. So, the next time you feel those nerves kicking in, remind yourself, this is my body giving me the energy I need to succeed. Now, knowing the science is great, but you also need practical strategies to play in control when it's go time. These tools are used by professionals across every industry. We're gonna begin with a breathing exercise. Now that's box breathing, 4-4-4 method. You're gonna breathe in for 4 seconds, you're gonna hold for 4 seconds, and you're gonna exhale for 4 seconds. Then you're gonna repeat that 3 to 4 times. And essentially, this works because it activates your parasympathetic nervous system, the part of your body responsible for calming you down. It counteracts the fight or flight response and steadies your heart rate. Secondly, there's visualization. Picture the best outcome. Close your eyes. Visualize success. Picture yourself walking to the front of the room with confidence, speaking smoothly, seeing heads nodding, and hearing applause. Now, why does this work? Visualization triggers the same neural pathways in your brain as actually performing the task. Athletes use this technique before big games because it primes the brain for success. I did this before I started this project. Visualization works. Now next, power poses. Take up space. Before you present, find a private place, stand tall, feet shoulder width apart, hands on your hips, or raise your arms in a V like you just won a race. Now hold that for 2 minutes. Why does this work, you may ask? Well, Harvard social psychologist Amy Cuddy back in 2010 found that holding power poses for 2 minutes increases testosterone, which is the confidence hormone, by 20% and reduces cortisol, the stress hormone, by 25%. While there has been some debate about the hormone data, subsequent research supports that power poses still make you feel more confident, which improves your delivery. Confidence is about how you feel, and taking up space makes you feel more powerful. Fourth, you want to anchor yourself. When you're speaking and you feel the nerves creeping up, rest your hand on the podium. Plant your feet firmly on the ground. Take a slow breath. This grounds you physically and mentally. Next, you're going to want to prepare your opening. Memorize the first 30 seconds of your presentation. Now you may ask, why? Because once you get through the opening, your adrenaline levels drop and you'll settle in. Next would be acknowledging the adrenaline. When your heart races, remind yourself that it's normal. This is adrenaline, and that's a good thing. It's helping me perform. Seventh, practice under stress. Rehearse in front of a friend or record yourself. Why? Simulating pressure in practice makes the real thing easier. It's like a scrimmage before the big game. Eighth, preparation reduces panic. Know your material inside out. Confidence grows when you know your stuff. And now ninth is a mindset shift. Focus on value. When doubt creeps in, stop asking, what if I mess up? And ask, what value can I deliver to my audience? So here's your key takeaway to end this section. Anxiety is not the enemy, it's energy. When you learn to manage it, it becomes your edge. Now let's move on to how to structure your presentation so that your message is clear and memorable. Now, when it comes to delivering a great presentation, content matters, but structure is what makes it stick. You can have the best ideas in the world, but if they're not organized in a way that people will follow, your message will get lost. So how do we structure a presentation that's clear, memorable, and impactful? By using a simple principle used by the best speakers in the world. It's called the rule of 3. Now, what's the rule of 3, you may ask? People remember things better in threes. Our brains are wired to process information in patterns, and 3 is the pattern that sticks the best. Think about it. Stop, drop, and roll. Blood, sweat, and tears. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Truth, justice, and the American way. These phrases stick with us because they follow the rule of 3. Your presentation should be no different. When you're building your presentation, break your content into 3 points. Not 5, not 10, 3. This helps your audience stay focused and it helps you stay organized. Now, I'm going to provide a quick framework for presentation structure. Let's break down the basic structure of every successful presentation. Think of it like a sandwich. There's a top, a middle, and a bottom. First, your opening. Your first 30 seconds are everything. It's what sets the tone for the rest of your presentation. You need to grab attention right away. Make people lean in. You can do this in a few ways. You can tell a personal story, share a surprising fact, or ask a thought-provoking question. Something that hooks your audience and makes them curious about what's coming next. For example, you might open with, did you know 75% of people fear public speaking more than death? That's not true, by the way, but it's simple, surprising, and it immediately gets your audience thinking. Next is the body, the middle of your sandwich. Now this is where the rule of 3 comes into play. People remember things better in 3s, so choose 3 key points you want your audience to walk away with. Not 5, not 10, 3. And for each point, use this simple formula. State the point, provide an example or story, and give a takeaway. That's it. Point, example, takeaway. This structure keeps you on track and makes your message easier for your audience to follow and remember. And finally, the conclusion. Closing with impact. How you finish matters. Don't trail off or end with, and that's it. You need to end with a purpose. Recap your 3 key points, then leave your audience with something memorable. A call to action, a powerful quote, or simply restate the key message you want them to carry forward. Think of your conclusion like the final note in a song. It's what sticks with people when they leave the room. And that's your structure: opening, body, conclusion. Nail these 3 parts and your presentation will land every time. And so now I would like to discuss some pertinent heuristics or shortcuts to success. There are a few simple rules of thumb that can help you avoid common mistakes when putting together your presentation. And the first is KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. Less is more. Don't overcrowd your slides with text. 1 idea per slide is far better than a wall of bullet points. Your audience should be listening to you, not reading your slides. If they're reading, they've tuned you out. And next is WIIFM. What's in it for me? Always think about your audience. Next time you prepare a slide or say something, ask yourself, why should they care? If it doesn't matter to your audience, cut it. Now finally, chunking. If you have complex information, break it into smaller, digestible parts. Our brains process small chunks far better than long, uninterrupted streams of information. For example, instead of saying, our company's Q3 revenue saw a 14% increase, largely driven by North American sales, with additional growth in European markets due to our digital expansion. You break it down like this. First, Q3 revenue was up 14%. Second, North America led the growth. Third, Europe followed because of digital expansion. It's the same message, but it's easier to follow. Keep it simple, keep it relevant, and break it down. Your audience will thank you for it. But now let's talk about the deadly sins of presenting. What not to do. Avoid these and you're already ahead of most people. First, reading off your slides word for word. Your audience can read. They don't need you to read to them. Slides should support you and not replace you. If you're just reading what's on the screen, your audience will check out. They need you to bring the content to life. Secondly, speaking too fast or too slow without variation. Pacing matters. Speaking too fast makes you sound nervous and your audience struggles to keep up. Speaking too slow can bore them and you'll lose their attention. If you stay at the same pace the whole time, people zone out. Your delivery should match your message. Speed up when you're excited. Slow down when something's important. Pause when you want something to land. Now third, overloading the slides with too much text. If your slides look like an essay, it's a bad slide. Less text, more visuals. The audience should glance at your slide, understand it in seconds, and not spend their time reading paragraphs. Now fourth, failing to connect with the audience. If you're staring at your slides or buried in your notes, you're not connecting with the audience. Eye contact is key. Look at them. Speak to them, not at your slides. People need to feel like you're talking to them and not just going through the motions. But finally, ending weakly or without a clear conclusion. Don't just fizzle out awkwardly saying, that's it. Land the plane, recap your points, reinforce your message, and leave your audience with something to remember. If you avoid these mistakes I just discussed, you will separate yourself from most presenters before you even say a word. Now here's a final thought just to close this section. When you structure your presentation well, you stay in control, your audience stays engaged, and your message hits home. But now let's move forward and look at how your body language can elevate this even further. When we think about presentations, we often focus on what we're going to say. The words, the content, the message. But here's something you need to know. How you say it is often more important than what you say. Your audience will decide within seconds whether they trust you, whether they like you, and whether they're interested in what you're saying. And most of that decision comes from your nonverbal communication, your body language, your tone, your delivery. In fact, studies suggest that up to 70% of communication is nonverbal. People listen with their eyes as much as their ears. So let's talk about how you can master nonverbal communication to enhance your message and command attention. Now, let's talk about body language. What you show matters. It's the first thing your audience sees before you even speak. Before you say a word, people are already making judgments based on how you carry yourself. Your body speaks before your mouth does. That's why open gestures matter. Keep your posture open and relaxed. Avoid crossing your arms, clutching your hands, fidgeting, that sort of stuff. These closed off movements, they signal discomfort and nervousness, and your audience will pick up on that, even if you don't realize it. Next, use purposeful movement. It's okay to move when you speak, but make it deliberate. Don't pace nervously or shuffle back and forth. That kind of movement distracts your audience and makes you look uncertain. Instead, walk with intention. Take a step forward to emphasize a point. Move to the side when transitioning to a new idea. Movement should work with your message and not against it. Smile naturally. Smiling builds warmth and connection. When you smile, your audience relaxes. They're more likely to trust you and feel comfortable engaging with what you're saying, but it has to be genuine. Don't force it. Smile when it feels natural, especially at the beginning, to set a welcoming tone. Now let's talk about proxemics, proximity, using your space wisely. That's another powerful tool. Proxemics is the study of space in communication, and where you stand matters. If you're making an important point, step slightly closer to the audience. It creates an intimacy, making the point feel important. If you're moving on to a new section or shifting topics, take a small step back. It signals a mental reset for your audience. Now, facial expressions matter too. Your face should reflect what you're saying. If you're sharing something exciting, show it. Let that weight show in your expression. If you're delivering something serious, be serious. People are constantly reading your face to confirm if they can trust your words. If your face doesn't match your message, they won't believe you. And finally, gestures. And I'm a pretty gesture-heavy presenter. Use your hands to guide your audience. If you're talking about growth, expansion, or opportunity, gesture outwards. If you're narrowing something down, bring your hands inward. And if you're listing 3 points, show it with your fingers. Gestures make your message more visual. They help your audience see what you're saying, and that makes it easier to remember. When your body's in sync with your message, you don't just sound confident, you look confident. And that is what sticks with people. All right, now let's talk about your voice, because how you sound can completely change how your message is received. Your tone, your pacing, your volume, these things can either bring your words to life or make your audience tune out. Let's start with pauses. Silence is powerful. When you pause, people lean in. It signals to your audience that what you said matters. It gives them a moment to absorb it. So after making a key point, try pausing for 2 or 3 seconds. Let it land. You'll feel like it's a long time, but to your audience, it creates impact. Now next, vary your tone. Your tone is an instrument. Your voice, if you play it on one note the whole time, people will check out, no matter how good your content is. When you're excited, let your voice rise. And when you're making a serious point, slow down, lower your tone. When you're asking a question, lean into it with curiosity. This variety keeps people engaged. It keeps them listening. And now volume. You need to own the room. If you're too quiet, people in the back stop paying attention. If you're too loud the whole time, you overwhelm them. The sweet spot is your natural, confident volume, but don't be afraid to adjust it depending on your message. Lower your voice to pull people in for something important. Raise it to build energy when you want to inspire action. When you control your volume, you control the room. Now, enunciation is next. When we're nervous, we rush. And when we rush, we mumble. Slow down. Open your mouth fully when you speak. Let each word land. Clear speech gives you credibility. And finally, avoid filler words. Like, you know. We all do it when we're thinking, but too many of them weaken your message. If you need a second to gather your thoughts, pause, take a breath. Silence is always better than The power of nonverbal communication is that what you say matters, but how you say it is what people will remember. So here's a final thought to close this section. Your words matter, but your delivery is what makes people believe you. But let's move on to how you can actively engage your audience and make your presentations feel like conversations instead of lectures. A great presentation isn't just you talking at people, it's you talking with them. Think about the best presentations you've ever watched. Maybe it was a TED Talk, maybe it was a guest speaker at an event, maybe it was a classmate who just really had their stuff together. What made it so memorable? Chances are you felt connected to what they were saying. It didn't feel like a lecture, it felt like a conversation, even if you didn't say a word. That's what we're aiming for. When you present, your audience is not just a group of people sitting there, they're part of the experience. Your job is to pull them in, hold their attention, and make them care. So how do you do that? One of the easiest and most effective ways to bring your audience into the presentation is to ask questions, but not just any questions, questions that make them think. Let me give you 3 powerful questions that you can ask yourself whenever you are preparing for a presentation. First, what's one thing that makes a presentation memorable for you? Think about it. What sticks with you after a great presentation? Is it the story, the confidence, the way the speaker made you feel? Second, how do you want your audience to feel after hearing your presentation? Do you want them to feel inspired? Do you want them to feel confident about a decision? Or maybe you want them to feel a sense of urgency. Knowing the feeling you want to create will shape the way you deliver. And third, what would you do differently if you had to present this topic tomorrow? Now, this is a reflection tool. Every presentation is a learning experience. Even if you nailed it, there's always something you could do to fine-tune. And if you start thinking or asking yourself this after every presentation, you'll grow faster than you ever thought possible. Now, these questions aren't just for the audience, they're for you, the speaker. They train you to think from your audience's perspective. But now, let's go a little deeper, because the best speakers don't just ask questions on stage, they build their entire presentation around a question. This is called a guiding question. Think of it like your North Star. It keeps you focused. When you're preparing a presentation and you're not sure what to include, or you feel like you're getting off track, you come back to your guiding question. It's the one thing that reminds you, this is what I'm here to answer for my audience. Now let's compare. A weak guiding question might be, how can I sell this idea? It's vague. It's about you. It doesn't serve the audience. But a strong guiding question would sound more like, how can I show my audience that this idea solves their problem. Do you see the difference? The second question is focused on the audience. It's about helping them, and that's where great presentations start. So, how do you come up with your own guiding questions? There are 3 steps. First, start with the audience's needs. Ask yourself, what is the one problem my audience needs to solve? Your presentation is there to serve them. If you don't know what they need, find out before you even start building your slides. Second, make it action-oriented. Ask yourself, what action do I want the audience to take after my presentation? Are you trying to convince them to invest? Do you want them to buy into your group project idea? Or maybe you're just trying to help them understand something better. Whatever it is, be clear on it. And third, keep it specific and impactful. Ask yourself, how can I simplify this idea to ensure it's understood and remembered? If your guiding question is vague, your presentation will be too. The sharper your question, the sharper your message will be. So here are a few guiding questions that can help you steer your message. How can I demonstrate that my solution addresses the audience's biggest challenge? What is the key takeaway that will resonate most with this group? How can I make my topic feel personally relevant to my audience? Now notice that every single one of these is audience focused, because a great presentation is never about the speaker, it's about the people listening. Now, when you ask the right questions, both in your preparation and during the presentation, you pull your audience in. You turn your presentation from a speech into a conversation. And when you do that, you win their attention. So let's move to our final section, how to bring all this together and finish strong. All right, everyone, we've covered a lot today. We've talked about the nerves, the structure, the body language, and the questions. So let's take a minute to bring it all together, because if you walk away from this session remembering just these key points, you'll already be ahead of most people. First, overcoming presentation anxiety. We learned the nerves are normal. They're your body preparing you to perform. The key is not to fight the adrenaline, but to work with it. Reframe it as excitement. Use tools like breathing techniques, power poses, and preparation to stay in control. Second, structure your presentation. Keep it simple. Build around 3 key points. Open strong, deliver your message with clarity, and close with impact. When your structure is clear, your audience will stay with you. Third, nonverbal communication. How you say it matters just as much as what you say. Stand tall, move with purpose, use your voice with confidence. Let your body support the message and not work against it. Now, fourth, engage your audience. A great presentation feels like a conversation. Ask questions. Frame your message around their needs. When you focus on your audience, they'll focus on you. And now I want to leave you with this. Every opportunity to speak is an opportunity to grow. When you learn to communicate with confidence, you're gonna open doors, and doors lead to better jobs, to leadership positions, to relationships that can change your life. Think about it. The people who get noticed, the people who get hired, the people who get promoted, they're often the ones who can speak up and make their ideas heard. You might be the smartest person in the room, but if you can't communicate it, someone else will get the opportunity. So start now. Strive for success, make the most of your opportunities, and let your confidence inspire those around you. I'll end with 2 final thoughts. The first is from Ralph Waldo Emerson. All great speakers were bad speakers at first. Confidence isn't something you're born with, it's something you build. And the second is this. Confidence doesn't mean you're not afraid. It means you do it anyway. So get out there, speak up, and own it. Thank you very much.